I kind of rebelled a little bit, but, fortunately I stuck with it. And now I can say that, why I've found so much success in the sport is because of my discipline, that martial arts has taught me, with life choices, with, who I choose as my friends, what I'm doing, my work ethic. It all revolves around martial arts and what it means to be a martial artist.
Welcome to Black Belt Beauty Radio, a podcast fueled by a passion to support your journey in developing your most beautiful and optimal performance in life. Each episode is driven with the intention to elevate your mind. When we elevate our mind, we elevate our life. So get ready. It's time to rise. What's up, everyone? Welcome back. So today's guest is so rad, you guys. His name is Jean-Paul Bosnoyan. He's a 19-year-old amateur MMA fighter, and above all, a martial artist, a true martial artist. I want to preface this first by saying that, regardless of whether or not you have interest in fighting or not, I firmly believe that there are so many gems to take from the mindset of Jean-Paul. To be a fighter is a very unique lifestyle. It's a very difficult career path. I mean, it takes so much fortitude, so much perseverance, so much focus and discipline, so much passion and desire and confidence, all of which Jean-Paul carries within him and is so easily detectable to anyone who has ever met him. But also I feel that you gather that very quickly throughout our conversation. So Jean-Paul, he started training in martial arts at 3 years old, little puppy. And he started training Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu at 5. And after that, it was a wrap. He was just winning. I mean, he won over 50 Naga championship belts. He's won several Pan American and world championships, for the International Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu Federation, and the list goes on. He turned 18, he started competing in MMA, so mixed martial arts, and has so far had 7 fights, all of which he's finished his opponents. So not decisions, finishes. That is a big deal. Fighting is such a difficult sport. I mean, you never know what's going to happen. So to be able to execute like that, back to back is tremendous. It's remarkable. One of the things I want to note before the conversation that I totally appreciate about Jean-Paul, and I feel is going to be one of the greatest aspects of his success, not just through his career as a fighter, but his success as an evolving human being, is that Jean-Paul is so observant. He is paying such close attention to every aspect of his life, to who he is, to his thoughts, his behavior, to who he surrounds himself with. He's very particular. He has an amazing tribe of people around him that you'll, learn about through our conversation. But to be this conscious and self-aware at 19 years old it's special. It's unique. It's not common. So like I said, I really believe it's going to serve him as an asset, towards the evolution of his success. And, he wants to be a champion. He believes he will be a champion. And I back that belief up so much. He has everything that it takes. He has the physicality. He has the talent, in the physical aspect. But above all, he has the head for it. He has the mindset for it. And not just to be a winner, but to be a real champion, to be someone who's remembered, not just because of how they won, but how they express themselves, outside of the fights, outside of the sport. So again, that goes back to being a true martial artist. So, I predict that he's going to be a winner. He's going to be a champion, and he's going to be, just a wonderful expression of what it means to be a martial artist and a fighter, and a positive influence to everyone who's paying attention to him. So there's a lot to take from him. Like I said, fight, whether you love fighting or like fighting or don't care anything about it, maybe this will get you excited to start looking into it, because you guys know I love it. Or if you didn't know, you know now. So I'm going to get down on this conversation. You guys enjoy it. Jean-Paul Bosnoyan. I'm all about these kind of impromptu entrances to my conversations with badass people like yourself, because fuck the straight line. So let's just get into it. Jean-Paul, what's up?
What's cracking?
Dude, we're fucking matching right now. Kind of.
You were wearing shorts before, but then she was like, damn, teal's a really cool color on him, so I'm going to go change.
We're going to take a picture of this.
Yeah.
Shit.
Are those Lulus?
No, they're aloe.
Mine are Lulus.
I can't wear Lulu. I like Lulu. But aloe are, I don't know, they just hold everything together perfectly for me. So.
My parents they just know that Lulu's the way to go, so I always get stuff for Christmas.
That's a great Christmas gift. Yeah, my best friend, Carrie Walsh Jennings, who you know, is
Shout
a brand
out, Carrie.
ambassador. What up, girl? I love you. So, yeah, I have a lot of love for Lulu, too. But, dude, I'm excited right now. Thank you for being here with me.
Yeah, thank you for having me. I'm super excited. So I'm the first male.
I was just going to say that. You're the first. I was on my run right now, and I was like, oh, man, Jean-Paul is the first man who is on the podcast. And what... You know, I mean, obviously I have a lot of great men in my life, starting with my brothers.
For sure.
Which I'm sure we'll talk about. But, you know, it's funny because when over the last couple of years as I've been developing Black Belt Beauty and even thinking about, like, the name for the podcast, if I wanted to do something separate because the word beauty could throw men off. And really Black Belt Beauty isn't, you know, it's not just for women. It's a mindset and a lifestyle that lends to both men and women. And so... You know, it's important for me to be able to share, you know, to have guests that are both male and female because, why don't we just have you introduce yourself first and foremost, and I'll give my own, you know, introduction later on about you. But you're a fucking rising star, basically, and an amazing human, but go ahead and give our listeners a little bit of your background.
Yeah, so my name is Jean-Paul Bosnoyan. My nickname and fight name is Mufasa, which is like from the Lion King. And sort of, it's kind of like my spirit animal when I step into the cage. It's like, I like to think of myself as a lion when I'm in there. And, you know, what I do in there is sort of defend my pride of people and the people who stand behind me and the people who, you know, put in so much effort and work into seeing me succeed. Is like when I step in there, I'm a lion, I'm defending my pride, you know, and so, and when I say pride, I mean like a lion pride, like the people who support me. So that's what I do. I'm a mixed martial artist, but that doesn't define me, and I'm starting to, you know, learn that more and more. But it's definitely, I'm 19 years old, but it's definitely like a huge part of my life since I was a little kid. So I'm just kind of running with it and seeing where it's going to take me.
Yeah, you're just getting warmed up, but you're already kicking ass. We're gonna tear into that later. What's your ethnicity? Is French, right?
So so I was born and raised in the United States, and my mother is from Romania. She's, you know, I'm first generation, and so she's from Romania, and my dad is from France. Okay. So they both met in the States and had me. And then my sister. So
yay! So no brothers, right?
No brothers. No, I got plenty of best friends that I consider brothers. So very blessed in that way. Yeah, we're
totally gonna tear into that too.
Yeah.
And your sister's how old? Are you older or younger?
I'm older. She's 16.
How cute.
Yeah.
I've always wondered what it would be like to have an older brother. Although my brothers seem kind of older than me in some ways, just because we're lined up right next to each other in age, and they're so, you know, their whole posture towards life is like they're fucking lions. So, you know, it's like, for sure. I feel like I have older brothers.
They don't act like, you know, they act like mature adults, and I'm sure it was like that when they were younger too. For the most part, you know.
I'm like, hard for me to say because I don't think we've ever grown up. Still, I feel like we're still kids, you know.
That's true. That's true.
Which is the best feeling ever. How did fighting and how did martial arts come into your life?
Yeah, so I had a pretty rough childhood. Both my parents they split up at a very young age, and my dad kind of, you know, he wasn't the best dad, you know, and I'm having trouble saying that because this is very new for me to sort of start accepting.
Yeah.
And I was forced into the sport as a kid, and I didn't really like it. And I was on the mat pretty much since I was. He would, he's made examples of like carrying me around in a kangaroo when I was a little kid. So I've literally been on the mat since I was a baby.
So jiu-jitsu for sure was the first.
Jiu-jitsu and hapkido, which is another martial art, were my first martial arts, and I've pretty much been on the mat since a little kid, and I was forced into it, but now I've learned to love it, and it's amazing, and it's opened so many doors, but I came from a very like forced experience, with the sport, and inside and out inside, the academy, and outside it was very forced, and
How old were you? Like, so it was just like...
like 3.
Yeah, you were... Okay.
Yeah, so I didn't really have a choice, but in a way, I'm grateful that I didn't have a choice, because that's why I am where I am now.
Sure.
But, at the same time, it definitely has affected me, in negative ways. And I'm starting to see those now, So, but overall, I'm very happy that I was brought in at such a young age. Because I have a huge step up on everybody.
Yeah,
my age.
Sure.
And a little older, so.
No, for sure. I started training jiu-jitsu. It's so weird. I thought it was 6 years ago, but it was actually 8 years ago. And I'm 39. I'm about to be 40 next month, which is so weird to say, but in the most beautiful way. And, I always think to myself, like, oh my gosh, what would it have been like if I started so much younger? But, I do believe that timing is always appropriate. Like, it happens at the right time in our lives. So, but yeah, that's got to be a really interesting feeling to start so young.
Yeah. It's all I know,
That's all you know. Yeah.
It's a blessing. It's a blessing.
It's a blessing.
Yeah.
Yeah. What were, I'm sure it was hard because there's so much discipline that has to take place to be committed on that path, and right? Any sport,
the discipline definitely evolved as I got older. But from a young age, it was kind of like I resented it, like I kind of had my moments, I liked it and I didn't, but it was so, my dad was the ruling like God of my life, because he was my instructor and he was my dad in the house, so he had power over everything, and it was too much. So I kind of rebelled a little bit, but fortunately I stuck with it, and now I can say that why I've found so much success in the sport is because of my discipline, that martial arts has taught me, with life choices, with who I choose as my friends, what I'm doing, my work ethic, it all revolves around martial arts and what it means to be a martial artist.
Yeah, let's talk about that, because we were kind of talking about it a little bit earlier, and while I was running today, I was thinking about you, and just kind of, like I mentioned to you earlier, I have a lot of friends that fight professionally for the UFC, and, like somebody that comes to my mind immediately when I think of you, there's kind of a resemblance of George, GSP, who has been a longtime friend of mine and is just a remarkable human. Like, is the realest thing, and I feel fortunate to know George behind the scenes, to be able to truly say, the humble, good-spirited person that people see, consistently through him, it's the fucking real thing.
Right.
Like, he's like that, and everybody has, shadowy moments, dark times, hard, difficult, but there's a certain, that doesn't mean that the character of the person isn't, like he is, just a fucking wonderful human, good-spirited, and I think the main word that kind of comes to my mind is full of respect, and I feel like there's an alignment that I feel that how I receive you is in that realm. So what to you does it mean to be a martial artist?
Thank you for saying that, because that definitely means a lot. But for me, as a martial artist, and as like I'm growing, developing, and finding out who I am and what I stand for and all these things, I think it's sort of something that will constantly evolve, because right now the theme in my life is sort of finding out, who I am and finding my path and what I stand for and all these things. And I think it's a matter of that, is like finding out who you stand for and sticking with it. Yeah. But, I can say right now in my life that, a lot of things that I thought I stood for, I don't anymore.
Like what? Do you mind?
Yeah, like for instance, like, I don't want to keep tying this back to like my father, but there were so many things that were, and I don't want to go into to specify.
Yeah.
But there were so many things that he said, "Oh, this is bad. This is good. This is bad. Okay, Dad. Okay, Dad. Okay, Dad." Yeah. My whole life.
Right.
And now that he's no longer in my life and is no longer this controlling power figure, mm-hmm. I'm starting to find myself and find things out for myself.
Yeah.
And not have just his
perspective.
His perspective be like my consequence.
Sure.
So now it's sort of like finding out things out on my own, and that's sort of determining what I stand for and all these things. So I'm in that process right now, and I think a lot of people are. Mm-hmm. And you just sort of as you live and you learn, you take things that you learn and you put them in the hard drive or whatever, and mm-hmm. you're like, all right, I stand for this. Mm-hmm. This I don't like too much. So I'm kind of in the process of doing that. GSP, comparing me to him is a huge honor, but at the same time, like, he's a lot further down in his career than I am. Mm-hmm. So he's sort of he knows what he stands for, mm-hmm. in a sense. And, things change, but that's where I'm at right now. As far as like where I stand, what I stand for right now is just, being humble and respecting others and kind of just trying to find out like who I am and being true to that. So
yeah. Well, that's exciting.
And also being aware of like influences, mm-hmm. is huge to me right now, because I've had the privilege of training with some of the best guys in the world, and for a period of time I was training with Conor McGregor, and I noticed, now that I've matured a little bit, I noticed on my social media like mm-hmm. how I was acting when I was around him and influenced by him. Mm-hmm. And it was not what I stood for. I was, putting all these cocky comments and, all this stuff. And I look back and I'm like, what were you doing?
Yeah.
And now I have someone like Brian Ortega, like, one of my bestest friends and my coach. And it's like, wow, this guy is legit. And that's what I stand for,
right.
So it's all about, finding out what works for you and sticking to it.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Well, it's also, it's like this unfolding of who you are, I feel like, mm-hmm. At the same time, kind of creating who you are. And there's only one way to really do that, and that's just, to keep living from your truth, like from your, most authentic self, and be doing it with eyes wide open, mm-hmm. to be doing it consciously, which I feel like you do. I mean, even just visually watching.
Yeah.
Yeah, I got a few years on you, and I've lived around the world, and I feel like you're, it's obviously, I don't need to say this, my family, we're as fucking real as it gets, we're
sure.
Nice people, but we're not going to just hand you shit.
No,
not at all. But I witness your observing eyes. Like, I see how you pay attention.
Yeah.
And that's, it's such a fucking great, it's everything.
Yeah.
I love this question that came to me a long time ago meditating. It's like, can you observe without judging?
That's also huge.
Huge. And that is not easy.
Yeah.
And especially to yourself. Can you observe yourself and not judge yourself? It's kind of gnarly. It's deep. I know.
It might be a little too deep for me. Right?
I know. It's like... No, but like that in the sense that like so many people are hard on themselves or, like just... not friendly to themselves because they're observing from a perspective that, isn't just to learn. Mm-hmm. Do you know what I mean? But we can go down that rabbit hole later. But anyways, well, that's exciting. You're mm-hmm. fucking, you've got a lot to look forward to in this process. What, where was I going to go right now? Everywhere. When did you first start competing?
I started competing when I was, I believe, 4 or 5 years old.
Damn! Yeah. That must have looked so cute.
Yeah.
Like 4 and 5 years old.
I mean, I'm already cute now, but...
Yeah. That was like a different... you were like a little chipmunk there.
Yeah, no, when I was little, it was a lot more real in a sense that like it was when I competed it was kill or be killed.
Yeah.
And now it's more of like a little more laid back in a sense, but I've competed like my whole life in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, you know, up until now. Yeah. And now it's more MMA geared. But I have so much experience competing, and I remember the beginning half of when I started competing, I would walk in, and it was kind of like how I walk into the octagon, but you know, I wouldn't make friends, I wouldn't talk to people, I would growl at people. Yeah. You know, and that's sort of where I get the line from, is I would be like,
you'd really growl?
Yeah, I swear. and I remember my first tournament, I was sitting on one, it was an in-house tournament. I was sitting on one side of the academy, and then I guess the opponents were sitting on the other side. You know, it was like brackets or whatever.
Yeah.
And I remember, you know, I'm a very affectionate person when it comes to my family and people I love. And at the time, I was with my dad, and we were sitting against the wall, and I was like hugging him and kissing him, and he was, you know, giving me advice and this and that. And I remember the kids were like pointing at me and laughing. The guys I was gonna fight.
Oh wow.
Yeah, so it was kind of like you can make a movie.
Shit.
You can make a movie out of this, but
yeah,
you know. So
how old were you? So this was when
I was like probably 5 years old.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, and so I remember them making fun of me and making fun of, you know, how I was treating my dad, because, you know, most people they look at that and they get kind of weirded out, but you know, I have different like cultures.
I was totally going there in my mind because I can relate. Yeah.
Yeah. So I mean, it's different, and not everybody can understand that. So, but anyway, so I fought the kid that was making fun of me, and I remember I got him in an inverted armbar, which is where you catch the armbar and the guy rolls out, and you're pretty much face down, cranking up like you're doing a what's that yoga thing?
A downward facing dog or upward facing dog.
This one.
Upward facing dog. Yeah, yeah.
So you're doing that, but you're like cranking an arm.
Yeah.
So
sick.
I remember there's a picture of it somewhere, and that was my first tournament. So
really,
yeah, and I've been doing arm bars ever since. So
is that like one of your favorite?
That's my favorite.
It's a good one
right now. You know, that'll probably change, but
for sure, I'm sure.
I don't know if I'm ready to move on.
Yeah. But also if it's working, but you're gonna evolve. I mean, I think evolution is just the natural part of existing, right? And if we're not evolving, then what are we doing? We're essentially kind of just dying slowly, right? We're kind of stagnant. Yeah. And so I just love kind of dancing on the whole idea of evolving as a human. I'm such a growth mindset junkie, which is why I had to start this podcast, because not only do I feel like, you know, I can personally share a lot of, you know, valuable, you know, insight and information through the podcast, but just to have people like you on and, you know, tap into your mindset and your process, because there's a uniqueness about it. And, you know, it stands out in a way of, it's not a, you know, like I'm better than you world kind of thing. It's just more of, there's a lot of fucking discipline, focus, drive, and one of my favorite words is a relentlessness that you have to have within you. And maybe even, you know, for you, like, you were kind of pushed into, like you said, you know, fighting, martial arts. Yeah. So even if it wasn't your, you know, you weren't naturally going into this direction, you embraced it inevitably, right?
Yeah.
And you gained a lot of those things, those qualities that I was just saying. Right. So it's exciting to be able to kind of get into your mindset and share.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. It's a lot. What, you have a sister?
Yeah, I have a little sister. She's a beast.
Yeah, she's awesome. She's like a badass jiu-jitsu.
Yeah, she's been doing it almost as long as I have. She started a little later. Yeah. Which is, you know, reasonable. She's a girl, but
yeah.
I mean, she's sort of, whereas I graduated high school and then, you know, took my career to another level, and, you know, now that I don't have to go to school from 8 to 2 every day or whatever, I have a lot more time to train. Yeah. And so, you know, I'm doing that with my life now. But she, you know, she's a lot more academically inclined than I am. So she's going to go to college, and she had to study a lot more than I did because she's taking way harder classes. So she's not training as much, but she's like an absolute animal. Even though I say that, because, it's all relative. I mean, training a lot to me is like training 3-4 times a day. To her, it's kind of the same, but I mean, so she's on a different path than I am, but she's still, so hardworking, and I just try to set the best example for her as possible.
Love that. You guys are like, she's like a best friend to
you. Her and I are like super tight, and I don't think, many brothers and sisters, obviously, besides yourself, can relate to that. Most siblings hate each other, but for us, it's like we're a team. Yeah.
Yeah, totally. Yeah. Was that something that was natural, or did your parents kind of help that, relationship between you guys? Like I can say this, like my mom, there's no such thing as telling on the brother or the sister. It's like, you guys have shit, you got to work it out yourself. And I love my mom for that because,
Yeah, for us, what sort of brought us together was kind of like how I was talking about earlier, is like our parents, split up.
Yeah. And,
my mom does her best to do as much as she can for us. But, I mean, when it comes down to it, it's her and I against the world. We're the only two people in the world that have, we have blood. So we have to, look out for each other. And she actually, so currently right now I live in my mom's house, and she lives in Boston with my stepdad.
Oh, really?
And she, they visit like once a month. But I pretty much take care of the house, and I'm really blessed to have that opportunity because, most kids my age are having to pay bills and, do all this. But, I get to live there for free. I just have to look over the house. And so she just actually moved in with me from her dad's for similar reasons of why, I moved out.
Okay.
So now, I get to spend more time with her.
That's rad.
Yeah.
How fun.
It's so cool. So.
That's so cool.
I mean.
What were you going to say?
No. I was just going to say, like, we have a super close relationship, and we have similar goals, and mindsets. So we get along well, and we get to work out together, and it's really cool.
I love that. I'm all about that with my brothers. Do you... Let's go... We're going to jump around, because that's how all these conversations are. I don't know how to do straight line. When did you... So I know this about you, that, your friends are really... First of all, you're very selective.
Yeah.
And, they really do mean a lot to you. Who... You mentioned Brian. Yeah. Brian Ortega, which, I've known for a long time, too, is obviously a very close friend of my brother, Mike. And it's been so rad to just watch his whole process unfolding. It's amazing. And so I'm sure for you, it's, as one of his best friends, it's got to feel incredible.
Yeah.
How did you guys meet? Like, how did that...
Yeah, so there's a saying that says, show me who your friends are, and that shows me who you are. And, I didn't believe that for a long time. And I've learned that is, like, one of the realest things out there, is, like, who you surround yourself with pretty much defines you to a certain extent. And so, being in high school just a year ago, I was surrounded with, people with different, their lives are on different paths. I'm not saying that what they're doing is wrong, but they're on a different path. And I kind of got myself into situations that, weren't the best, and I learned from that. And once I graduated, I sort of realized that, like, I need to surround myself with people who, want to do the same things as me, or, have the same mindset. And that's what I did. So I actually, how I met Brian is before that I was kind of like school jumping, because I grew out of my dad's academy, which is in Hermosa Beach. I sort of grew out of it. I was just smashing people, so I needed to find some new people to smash or to learn from. And I went to Crone Gracie. I don't know if you know what that is. Yeah, of course, yeah. Yeah, so I didn't have too good of an experience with Crone. I know other people, do or whatever, but I was kind of looking for a mentor and someone, to take me under the wing and to take me to the next level. And Crone didn't do that, and I ended up finding my way to the Gracie Academy, which is somewhere that I've always gone to, but now it's sort of become more and more my home. But so I went to the Gracie Academy, and it was a no-gi day, and Brian was there with Henner, and Henner was like, oh, okay, like, go with Brian. And I kind of heard about him, but I didn't really know who he was.
Yeah.
And at that time, I was like, had a killer mindset. I just wanted to tap everybody I trained with. It wasn't about anything but tapping people out.
Wow.
And so he sort of saw that I was like hungry, and he was shocked by my age and how, you know, how good I was in a sense, you know.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to toot my own horn.
No, but you were competing and you were winning for a reason.
Yeah. So I had like a different like gear than most people. So he saw that and took me under his wing, and I've learned so much from him since.
So you guys hit it off after the roll? Yeah, that's cool.
So, you know, he's cornered me in my last 4 fights, and I've just learned so much from him as a professional and as a person. And he's one of the coolest people, I think, on the planet. So,
yeah, he's a real thing.
I mean that. I'm not just trying to, like, boost him up, but that is just like one of the realest things, is that Brian Ortega is like one of the coolest and raddest people out there.
No, I back that up. I mean, you know, it's like I have this kind of, my thought is that real loves real.
Yeah.
Right? And so, you know who some of my friends are, right? I mean, Henner's wife, Eve, one of my best friends, Victoria, Hedon's wife, one of my Carrot. I mean, these are like, and these are badass
amazing
women.
people.
Yeah, legit.
Yeah.
And, all real, So, Brian, it's funny, like the last couple fights he's had, we always kind of see each other right before the fight. Like, I'm running the beach and it's like, hey,
we
whatever.
do that too.
I know, right?
We've done
it's
that
like,
too, yeah.
It's so fun. It's so fun. It's so cool. And we always get into deep life talks, like just fun, kind of, all over the place life talks. And everything with him is so real. And I can say that because, I realize that realness because I'm fucking real, right? And so I feel like...
Real recognize real.
That's what I'm saying.
Know what I'm saying?
Exactly. So, but you know what? I also think that there's something to be said about heart recognizing heart.
Yeah.
And that's like... when you relate on that level with someone, I mean, that's, that's amazing.
And I think that he's definitely, for sure, it's a known fact that he has a huge heart when it comes to being a person and also, like, in the cage. And I think we connected on that is, like, one thing that I always told him is, like, if you ever need me, like, I'm there, and every camp I've been there, and he's always been there for me. And what I thought was really cool is my last fight was probably one of, like, my biggest challenges ever. And it was all heart and God's will and helping me and getting me the win. And pretty much, like, the coolest thing about it I remember in, like, right after the fight, he grabbed me and he's like, you did it. Like, you went through war.
Yeah. You're
battle tested and you've got heart. And that stuck with me. And it kind of, like, gave me, like, a sense of, I can go in there and when all odds are against me, I can still win.
Handle your business.
Yeah, and he's done that and many times. So it was cool. That's something I didn't, all my fights have been, under a minute before that one.
Yeah, wait, let's talk about that really quick. So tell me, why was that the hardest fight? And then maybe give me some history. Because here's the thing. I didn't want to go into your whole, like... The fun part for me is to feel like the audience listening and listen to these things from very new, fresh ears, rather than knowing it before. So tell me about why that was hard, your last fight, and then the prior fights before.
Yeah. So in boxing... It's new to MMA because now it's more of a young man sport. Like, a lot of kids are starting to do it more and more as it's growing. But in boxing, like, young guys, they build them up. They give them opponents and they build them up, and then they start getting harder opponents. For me, it was sometimes I get a lot of hate, like, oh, he fought a nobody guy. It's like, no, that's not true. First off, I started fighting a year ago when I was 18. And I've only fought grown men. No one my age. I've fought guys that are like 25 and up.
Okay.
Those are people in their prime.
Yeah.
And when someone steps into the cage, it's not whether they suck or if they've never fought in their life. That door closes. You're in there to take each other's heads off.
Legit. You're about to throw down.
Yeah. So, my first couple of fights, I've had 7 so far, but my first couple ones, I just kind of, like, ran through everybody, and it was it was just because, you know, I wanted it more, you know, and they weren't ready for that. And my last 2 fights were against undefeated guys. My sixth fight was against a really good guy named Dejavon Coleman. I don't know how to pronounce his first name, but it's a super tough guy, jiu-jitsu guy, and he didn't have an answer, like, at all. And you know, it just shows that, like, I'm on a different level, and it debunks all those people that I fought before.
Yeah,
you know,
sure.
they had wins on their records, but this guy's undefeated 4-0,
right?
And I was undefeated 5-0, or no, 6-0. And so, I mean, he didn't have an answer. And then my last fight was against a guy named Isaiah Culpepper, and he had 2 belts for King of the Cage, which is one of the biggest amateur. It's a pro show that has amateurs on the card. So he's, you know, arguably for sure the best guy that I've fought, and he was undefeated. And so I went in there, and a lot of things went wrong that day before the fight, and I'm not going to go into detail, but pretty much everything went wrong. And then I was able to finish him in an arm bar with like a couple of seconds left in the round, in the third round. And so, you know, I definitely learned a lot, because I take every fight as a loss. Mentally, really? I always think, you know, I lost that one.
Okay.
Because it pushes me. You know, I convince myself that I lost it. No one else knows that, but I convince myself that I lost. So I come back, you know, stronger, and with that fire of, like, a loss.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
When you win, there's really no, like, fire.
Sure.
It's more like, you know, good job, pat on the back, on to the next one. But if you lose, it's like, I'm coming.
Yeah.
You know?
Or perhaps, like, I imagine another way to feel is like you could be afraid that you kind of fight from a place of, in any sport, you know, that you don't want to lose, like you're afraid, you know, but I don't know, that's a different feeling than like, I'm fucking coming after you, because, I don't know, does that make sense?
No, it does. I'm afraid to lose. I'm afraid to lose, and that's why I work so hard, you know. I outwork most of the pros, you know. I train 3 times a day, and you know, I work really hard, and that's where, like, my confidence and my success comes from, is just hard work. And that sort of gives my mind, like, puts it at ease, because I'm like, you know, I don't have to worry about losing. I've outworked this guy for sure. Like, there's no way that my opponent has done what I've done, and a lot of that comes from my brother. I mean, like, Mike pushes me harder than I've ever been pushed in my whole life, and those are just things that sort of help me and give me confidence. But like a person like Brian Ortega, who I've been, like, sort of studying, like, how he goes about doing things, because it's been working. You know, he's undefeated. He's number 1 in the world. But he says he's not afraid to lose, and you know, that's something I'm trying to understand a little more. You know,
it probably, I imagine, I'm not Brian, but I feel like when you breathe in, I feel like it can take this, I'm illustrating, like stretching a rubber band, like, and kind of let it relax a little bit, because then you don't, you know, it's almost like you release tension. Not to say that you're trying to manifest a loss. I don't know. This is all my theory, right? How I would kind of, if I was embracing that mindset. But it just breathes space in. And that space could be really valuable, because, you know, not to say that you're walking around feeling tense about it, but tension, especially in fighting, you know, it's such a it's a mind game,
huge.
Right?
It's huge, yeah.
It's like you have to, because you can have all the answers from the physical perspective, but if you lose in the mind first, it's like, that's a wrap, right?
Yeah, no, for sure. It's all that stuff goes away from me, like fight day, or not fight day, literally like a second before the fight starts. I mean, in the locker room, I'm like tripping out.
Really?
Yeah.
What is it? Can you share it a little bit? Or no, like, or you don't, I mean...
Yeah, no, I mean, I'm not going to go into detail, but it sort of all hits me before the fight. And, you know, that's why I have, you know, such good people around me to keep my head straight. Is because I don't do that. I don't go in there alone by any means, you know. And if it wasn't for people like, you know, Brian and Mike and, you know, my friends like Rafa and Kelly, they wouldn't, without them, like, I'm kind of all over the place. You know, they keep my mind, in the right place, and before a fight, I'm all over the place. But
Yeah.
when the gate closes, I'm 100% in the zone.
You're in the zone.
Yeah, but there's just a lot that builds up to it.
Yeah.
And they just keep me from like losing my mind.
That's
so don't
nice of them.
if any opponents are listening right now, don't think that don't think I'm like weak before a fight, because when the gate closes, you're pretty much screwed.
Well, and even if they do think that, even better.
Yeah, right.
Go ahead.
Okay,
and
you know what?
it.
Scratch that, you guys. I lose my mind before fights. I have mental breakdowns.
Oh my gosh.
That's all you need to know.
Wait, what is you say you train 3 times a day? What does that look like?
I really try to. Lately,
what is it?
So it'll be cardio, weightlifting,
Okay.
and weightlifting and boxing is sort of like together.
Okay.
Because I'll lift weights and then box right after.
Okay.
And then jiu-jitsu, of course.
Rad.
But it's right now, it's hard to be, because I'm in a place right now where I don't have a fight lined up, which is driving me crazy.
Really?
Yeah.
So how does that? Would you just have to wait?
Yeah, no, I could fight tomorrow if I wanted to, but I'm trusting the people who are advising me, like Brian, Coach James, Mike, all these people, my agency, and they're all advising me to sort of work on myself, and improve before I can fight again, and it's the right thing to do. But me as a person, I was like, I think I was the most active amateur, and who knows, maybe pro. Of last year, I had 7 fights in 1 year, in less than a year.
Wow.
Yeah, and so that's huge, and
That's
I wish I could do that right now. But as you move up the ladder, it's like your opponents get harder, and you have to put more thought and more training, and so and that goes with with life, with everything.
Totally.
As things get harder, you got to sort of slow down and take your time a little.
Well, and I think that's something really important to kind of put a pin in, because if you don't, honor that fact, it gets messy. And in the game of what you do for a living, messy could be a really fucking big problem. And I think
serious problem.
and you're so young, and you have such a big, bright future. I firmly predict. I can't wait for the UFC to invite you to come in and fight with them. I hope
you
that
hear that,
happens.
Dana?
I hope that happens. I believe it will, just because the physical talent is for sure there, but again, it's the character, and I think it's so important for the sport overall. That there's like Brian. What does he do? Win the fight? Like, I want to help people. I want it's like Rose. And she's like, because the truth is that there are so many fighters who are all these amazing humans walking around, like making a positive difference in the world, just outside of the fucking octagon, So, it will be so wonderful to have you rise in the sport, not just from the sport perspective, but from the human perspective too.
And like a part of, like there's a part of me that is just so sure that is going to happen.
I love that.
Yeah, it's like, it's written into stone, like in my brain. I always tell myself before a fight or whatever, it's like, it's written in the prophecy. It's something I made up,
Yeah.
And so I it's just a matter of time before the world sees like what I'm about. And I hope it inspires people to do, their own thing, or to do something similar. But, it's just a matter of time. And, I don't think I'm ready yet.
Yeah.
And I think that's why it's not happening yet.
Yeah.
There's a lot of young guys in the sport that are big names, but I don't think it's my time yet. It's Brian's time right now. It's my time to learn. It's my time to gain more experience. It's my time to potentially lose, as an amateur or whatever,
Yeah, totally.
But yeah, I know that it's going to happen sooner or later. And I'm not worried about, when.
I love that.
Yeah.
I'm such an advocate for that mindset. I'm a believe it to see it woman, straight up. Like, and when it's, because I'm a huge believer that where we put our focus and our energy, that's where life grows. So if you And the whole point is like, you want to have fun along the way to accomplishing these goals, right? Yeah. It's not just about the goal. It's like, it's the fucking adventure on the way to it all. How do you feel in that process? If you're just miserable because you're trying to create this thing for yourself in your life, like, you're missing the whole fucking point, right? Because at the end of the day, when you win that thing, when you create that thing, when that whatever, you're going to look back at that journey. And, like Carrie is a great, she talks about that through, the Olympics. It's not just the moment of the Olympics, right? It's like the 4 years prior to that build to the Olympics and everything that took place, within it that makes it even more special. Yeah,
that's something I've learned recently is like, because my whole life was so train, fight, compete, whatever.
Yeah.
And now I'm sort of kicking back a little bit. Still doing all those things.
Yeah.
But now making time for like living life, like experiencing things,
Yeah.
Not just locking myself in a gym and working. But yeah, I'm like experiencing things. I'm living life. I'm, seeing new things, and it's great. And I think that everybody kind of needs to do that if they're trapped in a routine.
Absolutely.
Because I like routine.
Yeah.
I love routine, but at the same time, you need to break that, to stay like mentally healthy, or to
evolve.
Yeah, evolve to make progress. Because otherwise, you're not really going to go anywhere.
No, listen. You know who my soulmate is, or one of my soulmates?
Who's that?
Bruce Lee.
Oh yeah.
And the reason why is because the philosophies that he shared, I feel like they come from, like, they're just from an innate place within me too. Like, there's an alignment there, right? So, he's all about having, like, no style, right? And I love that, because I'm also someone who loves routine, obviously. Like, my days are pretty much consistently, I live the life of an athlete, even though I'm not a pro athlete. And there's value in that, and I love that. But I also really love this idea of flow, of being in a flow state. And I think that when we cling and when we own something so deeply, stylistically in any area of life, we don't allow ourselves to flow, and then we can stump our evolution, we stump our evolution, essentially. So I think that that's, a really beautiful thing that you're doing right now. And I think after, like you said, all the years of, through your childhood where you were competing and training, right? Yeah. Where, like, you didn't have, I imagine, after school wasn't like, hey, I'm going to Danny's house,
no
Dad.
Way. No freaking way.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why I didn't really do my homework.
My father, we lived with my dad for like the earlier years of our childhood, and my dad was pretty militant too, and we started running. So I was a competitive runner. I started when I was 7, right?
Mike was too, right?
Yeah, so he, 1 year, my brother Mike is 1 year younger than me, and then there's Darius, Ariam, and our older sister Michelle. Anyways, so, we start competing at 7. Running was a 6-day-a-week thing. It was, I would, what I would do sometimes, like, and I was good. I was fast. I was like, I'm going to the Olympics. I'm going to Stanford. It was a whole, FloJo was my idol. It was this whole thing. Meanwhile, I'm like, not the tallest of tall. But anyways, so this is what I would do sometimes. I knew when my dad was going to be like, okay, we're going running. So I would literally grab cough syrup or some shit, like, like a NyQuil or something, and be in the kitchen and wait for him to pass by. So, like, what are you doing? I'm not feeling good. And, like, I'm going to fucking take some medicine. But here's the funny thing about it, and I feel like all my siblings will agree with me on this. It wasn't easy. And we didn't live with him our whole childhood, obviously. But in those years when you want to, like, go play at your friend's house afterwards and do these normal, in quotation, kid things. Fucking no, It was like, we're running 6 miles a day. We're fucking blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And that was hard. But the value of that enforced discipline that help to kind of shape, I really believe that discipline is a form of, it lends to freedom, right? Yeah. Because if you know how to switch that discipline mode on to do what you need to do to accomplish something that you need to accomplish, that's fucking freedom, because a lot of people do not have that ability to switch on discipline, right?
Yep.
Even diet, as an example. Yeah. Anyway, so I think that there's value that comes with, I agree with you, maybe in the beginning and through your childhood, you didn't really, it wasn't something that we could appreciate in those moments because we just wanted to be a kid and be quote unquote normal.
Right.
Right?
Yeah, I think that how I've taken everything as a learning experience, when it comes to my childhood. And, if there are parents listening or whoever, from a child's perspective, because I still am pretty much a child, but
yeah, me too.
yeah, but there's a place for balance. I think that if I was raised in a little more balanced environment and it wasn't 100% like train, do this, do that, do this, when martial arts oriented, if there was a little more balance, I think that would have been, for sure, like, a huge plus to, where I am now.
Right.
If it wasn't, like, so, like, abusive and, like, forced.
Militant.
Yeah. So, when it comes to raising my kids, obviously, whatever they want to play, they're going to be disciplined into doing it, but, enough.
Right.
Not to a point where you're, like, hiding cough syrup and shit, What is that?
That's so funny.
You're sipping lean in the kitchen. If it gets to that extent, there's something wrong.
Yeah, it's yeah, totally. No, I agree with you. And gratefully we fucking bailed that situation.
Yeah.
We were young too.
So that's what I'm saying. It's like
Thanks,
it's
Mom.
great. It's great.
Right.
Where we are now, we appreciate it. Mm-hmm. But in the whole grand scheme of things, it's like, now I don't have a dad because of it.
Yeah.
And it's like,
too.
it's like, congrats,
Right.
You did it. Like, you made an amazing child.
Right.
An amazing, grown up or whatever, like, they've done amazing things and you can sit back and take credit for it. But look, you don't have a relationship with your kid anymore.
Right.
And that's lost forever.
Yeah.
So it's I think balance is huge.
Totally.
With everything.
I really think that, I don't know, maybe this is just like the optimist in me. I think that people do the best they can with the best of what they have within them in that moment. So, like, for example, even my dad, who, straight up, he was a dick. Like, he did, I mean, I'm sure my brother, I don't know if you guys have...
he doesn't
really?
Too much.
Yeah, he didn't know how to do the dad part so well. But, I mean, he's a genius. I'm grateful for my genes. Holy fuck. Yeah. My dad's a modern-day philosopher, an engineer, super fucking smart. Yeah. But emotionally so, I think because he's so... left-brained or whatever, like the emotional component was just wasn't there as much, So, but I think he was doing the best he can,
Yeah.
Does that mean that he was a great dad? No, but I think that people just fucking do the best they can, or that's what I would like to think. But yeah, I
think most people do.
Most people do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Most people.
I know, I might be an optimist or something, but a realist at the same time too. What from where you are now, which I know, like you're just entering, I feel like, even though like your whole...
I ain't shit yet, but...
Well, it's funny because it's like, you've been doing this your whole life, essentially, right? And yet you're just walking towar's the beginning stages of your pro career.
Yeah.
Which is fucking rad.
It is.
What do you have any aspirations that you can share from where you are right now, which I'm sure it's going to evolve?
Yeah, definitely, like, one of my biggest goals is my first goal, long term, get the belt.
Okay. What's your weight that you fight at?
155.
Okay.
But that could change.
Okay.
Everything can change.
Yeah.
Might grow, like, 4 or 5 inches.
Right. I know, right?
I hope. But, long-term goals, get the belt, defend the belt, show that I'm a true champion, and really, like, be a beacon of what it means to be a true martial artist in the sport and inspire, younger martial artists and people in the sport that it's not a thug sport, and we're not all meatheads.
No.
some of us are, but
sure, there's
but
some.
we are not all meatheads, and we're not trying to fight everybody.
Right.
You know, we're not trying to prove who's got the bigger ego or whatever. I'm not, for sure. And when you look at me, like, on the street, I know that people think this because I hear it. It's like people are intimidated by me, but you have no reason to be. And, you know, I just want to share that and sort of, like, get my voice out there, you know, and let people know that there's a bad rep to MMA. But MMA stands for mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
And the first part of that is mixed martial arts. And, you know, if you look at martial arts, it's all about discipline and respect, and I just want to bring that out, you know, in the sport. And then anyways,
no, yeah,
short-term goals is to, you know, possibly get a couple more amateur fights under my belt, depending on, you know, what my team thinks is right for me, and go pro and get into the UFC as I want to say as soon as possible, but, you know, in reality, it's whenever.
At the right time.
At the right time.
Yeah.
Because I definitely, like, want to be in the spotlight and want people to, you know, look at me and see a star, you know. But I don't think the time is right, you know, if it's not happening, and maybe that's not, you know, what's right for me right now. But, you know, I know for a fact that if I just keep doing what I'm doing and keep training like I'm training and not get distracted, that I'm gonna get there for sure.
Oh yeah, no, I'm backing that up for sure.
Yeah.
I'm like are we predicting the future right now?
I think so.
Are we gonna look back and listen back to this and be like, see, we were on some shit. I feel it in my heart, truly.
Yeah.
You know, there are some people who just have the it factor, and, you know, I'll leave that to my intro about you, you know, but it's very easily detectable in you, and so it's going to be exciting, you know, like Brian, to kind of witness this whole unfolding. Yeah. It's so special, you know, to be on the inside and you know, to watch it unfold and support. What do you like doing outside of fighting? That might surprise people.
Yeah. No, I like doing a lot of things. I was recently, so being active I kind of categorize that with fighting.
Yeah.
Because I like doing a lot of yoga. I like, you know, just moving around and keep the body moving and working out. But that all kind of ties into martial arts because of how I go into doing it, you know. But outside of fitness in general, I like, or I should say, I've been presented with an opportunity from my stepdad to create my own company, pretty much.
Rad.
Product company.
Okay.
Yeah, so he has developed, have you seen those applesauce pouches? Like in the store, like the baby food ones? You've seen them.
Oh.
Like, for sure, you, like, twist off the cap, and it's like a pouch, and there's, like, smush in there.
Yeah, totally. All the kids are drinking it out. Yeah.
Totally. So he owns the company that manufactures the package of those.
Cool.
Which is huge.
Yeah.
So, pretty much he's given me an opportunity to use that and to create my own product. And I'm actually working with Mike a little bit with it to get it started. But it's cool for me because it gives... I'm becoming more and more passionate about it, and it gives my brain something else to do.
Yes.
You know, because I'm learning more and more that it is extremely important to have a plan B.
Absolutely.
You know? And especially in my sport, if you don't have a plan B, you're kind of screwed. You know, it's like if you put all of your coins in this bucket, or that was a weird analogy, but
you know, eggs in one basket, whatever, same
coins
thing.
in the bucket.
Yeah.
So,
coins are good.
$100 bills in the bank. But if you do that and you get hurt, I mean, you're done.
Right.
You know, serious injury, you're not coming back from that. And, you know, I plan to be, like, in and out and have a healthy brain, you know, when this is done.
That makes me happy.
Yeah, after my last fight, I sort of learned that. That's a real thing.
Why did you learn that after your last fight?
Because I got hit in the head a lot.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Damn.
Yeah, I was all over the place for, like, you know, a day or two. And it's sort of like, it was an eye-opener because I'd never gotten punched in the face any other fight.
Yeah.
6 fights, I'd never gotten hit.
Under a minute, you were... arm locking them,
just
right?
taking them down, couple arm blocks, couple rear naked chokes, but I mean, taking them down and finishing it, and it's like, that's great, you know, but it's a fight, and you're going to get hit in the face. So
right.
I plan to take as few shots as possible, you know, by the time my career is over, and obviously I'll have to take a few, but,
right.
you know, I want to be in and out and have something to do afterwards,
Mm-hmm.
you know, whether it's open up my own academy, you know, teach at the Gracie Academy or whatever. I definitely don't want to leave the sport fully, but as far as like competing goes.
Yeah.
So now I have a plan B, and I didn't have that like 3 weeks ago. So it's really cool.
That's really exciting.
The way that it sort of like came together.
Yeah.
So
sure. Well, and also you get to exercise different parts of your brain that are really important. You know, so I'm a, you know, celebrity makeup artist is what I do by way of profession. And I love my job. I have met some of the most important people in my life through my work. You know, it's creative, it's fun. I mean, there's all kinds of, it's hard too, shit. I'm waking up at 2 a.m. sometimes to go, like, you know, there's gnarliness. It's not all glamour. But I'm, like I said earlier, growth mindset junkie, biology geek, as you know. We rap out about, you know, turmeric and all this shit all the time. And so it's important to be able to utilize other parts of your mind, you know, not just even necessarily as a plan B, but just for your passion and your personal development of being, you know, who you are, because, you know, why just be one thing?
You don't want to be singular.
Fuck that.
Yeah, fuck that.
Yeah, no way.
And that's why I try to cross-train as much as possible, and here we go back to MMA, but I mean, like, I just try to learn from as many different sources as possible, you know?
Yeah.
That's why, like, the old school mentality of, like, martial arts is like you have one academy and one master and one this and that, but the game has changed, you know, and that goes with life too. You want to take as many opportunities as possible to like grow yourself and to learn, and that's why how we were talking about earlier is you were saying how like I'm a good listener, and like I've learned that. Like in school I didn't listen for shit, but I mean in life it's like you learn so much from people just by listening, and like stop talking for a second and just kind of like observe and listen. So
you know what I saw just today, actually? It was this post, and it was so cool. It said, the two words were next to each other, and it said silent and listen are made up of the same letters. Which is so cool. I know, right? I need to post that shit. But it's so true. Yeah. It's so true. As much as I love talking, obviously, I love just listening, observing, listening. And I think that there's so much value in that. So you're so ahead of the game to be at, you know, to be your age and to realize these, not just realize these things, but actually be putting them, you know, into action. You know, you're I think when you walk around wide awake, which is what's happening, you know, you're paying attention, and that's I mean, you know, you're 19. There's only you know, you're still gonna. My arms are like all over the place. There's still gonna be those moments, but it's, you know, it's all about the path is really what it is, right? And refining and refining and refining. But at least you're on the path. That's my point. Because it's not easy for people, especially when you're young, to even path. What the fuck is that? You know?
Yeah, because I mean, for me, sometimes I just sort of, like, kind of think about what I'm missing out in college. You know, I see all my friends, like, we have Snapchat together, so I see and Instagram, see what everybody's doing, and it looks like they're having a great time, and I'm sure they are, but you kind of got to, once you figure out something that works for you, you got to run with it, you know, and that's what I'm trying to do.
Well, sacrifice, I think, you know, to accomplish anything of true value, you know, something, you know, to accomplish anything great, sacrifice is a part of it. 100%. There's so much sacrifice that goes down in my life on the, you know, just living this, like, whatever, quote unquote healthy, I just call it quality, but like, you know, lifestyle that's very disciplined in me, you know, by way of like activity, and I'm not at the bar fucking drinking. I mean, I'm not even interested, to be honest.
I think I'm allergic to alcohol.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Because like
cool.
I've never, I've like tried it. I've never been like drunk in my life, but I've like tried drinking alcohol, and I mean, people who drink are probably listening to this and just like, oh, what a pussy. But I mean, like,
Good for you,
No,
though.
I drink it and I like dry heave. It's so
Really?
bad. So it's like, I love it.
You know what? I'm not a drinker.
If I smell
gratefully,
it.
I never really.
If I smell it, I like start almost throwing up.
This is, well, you're doing. It's funny. That's yeah. Well, see, you're. It's a great thing because I won't start going down the rabbit holes, even though I do want to do a little bit of that stuff, when it comes to nutrition and diet and stuff. But, so I, pretty much only drink wine. That was, I loved wine. But in the last couple of years, I haven't even had, like, it's just, first of all, my brother Mike, I'm quoting you right now because it's my favorite quote of pretty much all the time.
There you go.
We were talking about it when I'm like, what am I, I'm not going to open a bottle of wine, fucking sit here and drink it. Like, I'm going to get up and train. He goes, there's no, how did I say? He goes, there's no time to fucking drink when you're chasing excellence.
Typical. That's classic right
I made our t-shirts. Our Teams Defy,
Really?
like Black Belt Beauty now too.
What was it again? What was it again?
Chasing excellence.
The whole thing.
There's no fucking time to drink when you're chasing excellence.
That's awesome.
But it's so true. And it's like, I connect with that. And, and then I've learned about, like, the pesticides and things that go on with it. So it's just, I'm good. I'm not saying I'd never have a glass of wine in my life, but at this point, I'm just not inspired. I'm, feeling good feels too fucking good.
Yeah.
That's, people are always like, you're so disciplined, and I'm like, I just feel really good living this life, eating this kind of food, doing this training. And I know what it feels like to not feel this too. Because I didn't grow up all organic and like, we eat Taco Bell, fucking single mom, like making it happen. It feels too good not to want to keep feeling good and to do these things. Which is the segue. I want to tap into this a little bit with you. You know why? Because I feel like I'm excited to hear your evolution in the area of how you nourish yourself, So obviously there's the physical component to training. And then what do you do to nourish and replenish yourself? By way of food? By way of, I don't know, do you meditate? Are there books?
Yeah, so I've lived, and this is all props to Pops, but I mean, he set a good example when it came to eating right, not drinking, not doing drugs, and so that's been my life, like I've stuck to it, and I don't really know anything besides that.
So you didn't grow up eating Taco Bell?
No, and I've grew up in a very fortunate and wealthy life. Both of my parents are very well off. And that's where I kind of differentiate and from most fighters. Is like most fighters come from nothing, and their whole drive is to achieve a higher not status, but to
generate more prosperity in their life.
For their family, for their kids, for whatever. For me, it's different because like I already have kind of like what I need to like survive. I don't have to worry about anything. So my drive for my sport is purely like personal, you know, just because I want to be the best.
Yeah.
So where were we?
So how you nourish yourself and your father?
Yeah. So like I was never like malnourished or anything like that. Like I always ate good. The big thing for me is like not poisoning your body. To the best of my ability. Yeah. And there's nothing wrong with people who drink and who do these things because I don't judge those people at all whatsoever. But for me personally, it's a personal decision not to do that. And I sort of think of it as a one-up on my opponents, like let them do whatever, like I want to be the best version of myself possible. And I do that by like staying clean. Yeah. And, not taking like steroids or anything like that because I know kids my age have done that. Yeah. It's crazy. Yeah. And
that's a mess.
But yeah, so as far as like food goes, I keep it really simple. I pretty much only eat chicken.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Eat chicken and rice, and I'm sure you have your things, but I mean that's
vegetables too, right?
Yeah, vegetables as well, but that's like my diet. Cool. I personally like really don't like fish since I was a kid.
Yeah.
Hopefully, you know,
you can evolve your taste.
Yeah, I really hope so.
Evolution happens on the taste buds.
Yeah, it does, for sure. So I'm hoping that kicks in soon.
Yeah, well, especially for brain health.
Yeah.
Because the, you know, if anything, you want to definitely take, and we can talk about, I'll show you after. I might have already sent you a picture, but, you know, you definitely want your omega-3s to protect your brain, you know. And not just because of fighting, obviously, but just because, you know, for healthy brain function, into your 7th, 8th decade of life, and you don't have Alzheimer's and all that shit that can happen. But yeah, your taste buds are totally going to evolve. It's funny how that happens.
Yeah. So pretty much I just stick with that, and I don't get tired of it because I always switch up like spices or whatever, so it tastes different.
Yeah.
And then for something that's kind of like newer to me is supplements. I'm starting to experiment a little more, and like I've seen a huge difference. You introduced me to turmeric, whatever.
Tomato, whatever.
And we were talking about earlier how I either partially tore or like popped my LCL twice, and it's been bothering me. It was bothering me for a while. Like I couldn't fully extend it.
Yeah.
And when I woke up, I felt it, and I started taking. It's an anti-inflammatory, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah. So I felt a huge difference. Like I can extend my knee fully and not feel really any pain whatsoever.
So cool.
Yeah. So I hope that's what did it.
Yeah.
And I'd like to think so.
Yeah, well, dude, nature has answers, and what turmeric does, there's so many things, but it acts almost like a little poison to your body. As funny as that sounds, you know it's hormesis is what you would say in science. So it's this kind of poison that enters the bottom, or stress. That's the word I'm reaching for. It's a stressor to your body that then stimulates your stress resistance genes to upregulate, right? Your anti-inflammatory genes to upregulate. You want those genes upregulated to be working for you. And so it's not a placebo. It's some real science-backed shit. Yeah. So I love that you're feeling it.
Yeah, so I'm doing that, taking a multivitamin.
Cool.
And then BCAAs and just a couple things that Mike has... Your brother has advised me to take. But I've definitely seen a difference with consistency of taking these things.
Yeah.
You know, before I would pop a couple whatever multivitamins, but once you start becoming more consistent, you start seeing like actual results.
Yeah, you feel the results.
Yeah, and that's with everything, you know.
Totally.
But for me, it was like supplements. It's like a real thing.
That's cool.
Now, I have a question for you.
Okay.
So, I don't know if you have much experience with this, but definitely in, like, the world of mixed martial arts and just, you know, the world in general is, like, marijuana is, like, huge right now.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I don't, like, do any of that or anything. I don't know what to say, but...
Yeah.
So, there's the CBD.
Right.
Which is, like, blowing up like crazy right now.
Yeah.
And, that's something that I've gotten offers for like sponsors, and I'm always like, I don't know, like kind of sketched out.
Yeah.
So I'd like to be a little more educated on that, if you know.
You know what? I wish I had answers, and it kind of, you know, the subject comes up often through different podcasts that I listen to, like Mind Pump or, you know, Joe Rogan.
Yeah.
But I haven't been
huge.
Greenfield. No, it's totally huge.
Yeah.
And I'm interested to a certain respect, because these people that I listen to that I really respect that are very particular.
Yeah.
You know, they're not going to just advocate for something that isn't, you know, legit.
Yeah.
But I guess I don't know why I've never really, because I'm such a research junkie, right? I'm like, vitamin D, I want to know all about it, right? It, you know, regulates over 1,000 more genes. I haven't looked into that yet. So you just gave me homework.
Okay.
I'm going to look into it for you.
Yeah.
Somebody else has asked me that before too. So I want to know.
Yeah, I definitely want to know, because there's a lot of hype behind it. You
Yeah.
know? And
yeah, there's a lot of benefits apparently.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think maybe because, you know, I did smoke weed when I was a kid, so I don't know if it's like, there's a part of me that's like, yeah, that's like, I'm done with that stuff, even though it's not the same thing, you know? But,
so from
at all.
my understanding is it's not the, like, hallucinogenic property of the plant, right? It's like a...
No, I don't, no, it's not, but I do remember hearing on one podcast, I remember, you have to be particular about where you're getting it, you know, the quality of the product.
You might get high.
I think it's possible.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. I think that's why too. It's like I'm so not like I don't ever want to be high in my life.
If it sketches me out, I'm like, that's why I wanted to ask you, you know, but you'll get back to me.
No, I'll totally get back to you.
You better.
What about? I promise. What about? Do you ever mess with meditation or anything?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have in the past, but I mean, if we're being honest, it's hard to do. You know,
it can be. Yeah.
I went on a yoga retreat with my aunt Suzanne Asher, who's an amazing person.
Yeah.
And my little sister. So we went to Bali in Indonesia and did a yoga retreat, which was amazing. But what was unexpected to me was it was primarily like a meditation based retreat, not yoga.
Okay.
So I learned a lot there, and I meditated a lot there, and I just kind of like had not the best success with like bringing it back and implementing it into my life. But so many people that I respect and look up to have told me that it's like the best thing. But for me, I think there's different, and I keep saying that for me, but there's different forms of it. And in a way, I think when I'm on the mat and when I'm training, it's a meditation for me, because if I don't do it, I get tripped out. You know, I sort of lose my mind. So, but as far as like sitting down and like really
quieting the mind,
it's hard. That's hard for me to do.
I think that surfing and jiu-jitsu, there's a parallel for me where I feel like it's a form of moving meditation. If you don't, you know, I find, see, I'm doing the same thing. You know, it's like surfing, for example. If your mind and your body are not in full synchronicity or not in alignment, it can become dangerous to you, to somebody else. It's the same thing, you know, training jiu-jitsu. Your brain cannot be fucking over in Disneyland and your body's like trying to like, you know, arm locks.
You get choked out.
Right, exactly. Like real problems can happen, you know? So I do feel, and I feel like that's part of the high when you're done. You know, you catch a wave and you know, jump off or whatever. It's like you kind of step out of that spell, if you will, that moment of, you know, moving meditation, and it feels so good. But I am a huge, and we could talk about this at a later time, but yeah, I'm a huge advocate for meditation. And I think that it's this kind of, like most things in life that are great, it's this unfolding process that there's my meditation practice over the years has evolved so much, and now it's literally like I wake up in the morning and I cannot wait. I don't care if I only slept 5 hours. I want to light my candle, listen to my music, do my writing, and fucking meditate. And I always turn to science because I just love it, but there's proof of the rewiring of your brain that takes place from meditation, which I think is valuable for every human.
Yeah. I think that'd be a good thing to start to implement.
Yeah.
And try.
Yeah, because again, like, it's going to evolve, so it's not like you need to be some, you know, master at it at like 20 years old, but if you start trying pieces of it, you know, moments of it now, it could be really rad as you get deeper into your game of life, of sport.
For sure, yeah.
Okay, so I've kidnapped you for a long time now, but I want to, before we wrap out, any books that have changed your life?
I actually don't read.
Really?
Yeah.
Dang.
Yeah, I don't like to read.
You don't like to read?
I like to listen.
Okay. Do you listen to podcasts?
I listen to some podcasts, or I'll do like, I guess then...
YouTube or talks.
Yeah, but I mean, I get like I have ADHD and all that crap, and I just can't sit down and read.
It's hard to,
And my brain doesn't work that way.
Yeah.
I've learned that. It's just, I can't. I mean, I could.
Sure.
But I don't retain stuff.
Right.
My mind goes off. But when I'm listening and I learn more from people than I do from, like, you know, reading. And that's because I don't do a lot. But,
yeah.
I mean, people are different. So
totally, yeah. It's not like a deficiency or something's wrong. It's just different modalities, and different methods, basically. I was horrible in fucking school, not because, I'm a geek, really. Like, I was reading the encyclopedia as a kid for fun, but meanwhile, I could barely get a fucking C, and it was just because I wasn't interested in the way that they were, dishing it out, I guess. Or maybe it's just a rebel in me who just had a hard time fucking...
Yeah. Yeah, you know what? Actually, when I do find something that interests me, I will read it.
You will read it?
Yeah, what's that book? I read it, probably a year ago. Zen and the Martial Arts, is that it? Have you heard of that?
No.
I believe that's what it's called.
Okay.
But it was that book was legit. I mean, it changed my life because I read the whole thing. So there you go.
It's a stand-up for sure.
I think that's what it is.
Yeah, look.
That's a great book for any...
I'll make sure that I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah, I feel like if you're a martial artist, you got to read that book.
That's cool. What about... I want people to know you more outside of fighting, too. So that's where these questions are coming from. Places... or place that you would really love to go to that you haven't been before in this world?
Hawaii.
Hawaii?
Yeah.
You haven't been? Hawaii's home for me, too.
Yeah, I'd love to go there. Yeah, there was always talk about going to compete there for NAGA, which is North American Grappling Association.
Okay.
They would go there when I was younger, and I always wanted to go. It just never happened.
Yeah.
But Hawaii for sure. And then I want to go to Romania, which is where my mom is from. I think that'd be interesting to see a little bit of the culture there. But
for sure,
traveling is huge. I went to Bali, and you learn so much. I probably learned more there than I did in a whole year of being in school.
That's so true.
So traveling's huge, but it's hard for me to get out of my routine because if you go, that's one thing for me that I've learned is if you go to freaking Redondo and stay in a hotel, you're not going to be able to do the stuff you do training wise.
No.
It's impossible. Even if you're next door.
Right.
If I went to Vegas for Brian's fight, I try to work out and get my grind on in the gym, and it's just hard if you're not so that's why I Hermosa Beach is one of the most beautiful places in the world, and I'm so content and happy with being here.
I've lived around the world, and it's the same. It's man, I never come home, and I've been to some of the most beautiful places in the world that I love. Never come home feeling like I'm at second place. Yeah. Ever.
This is
fucking shit.
It's heaven on earth, and I'm just so grateful to be put here, since I was a kid, and it's a happy upbringing and environment. People are legitimately stoked here. Yeah, but the thing is, if you grow up here, you have to go.
You gotta leave. That's why I did.
Yeah, because otherwise you're gonna have a little false reality of what life is.
Well, you don't even appreciate it. When I lived in New York for years. New York is for sure home. I left and moved to Hawaii in my late teens, and that Kauai, Oahu, home forever. Now, which, moving from here to Hawaii, that wasn't, it wasn't a downgrade for sure. Yeah. But then to go from Hawaii to New York, people always trip out on that. How did you do that? It's so different. I'm that's exactly the point.
Right.
Diversity. Dude, I don't want to kidnap you longer because I feel I could. We'll keep going. But anything you want to say before we part ways?
Yeah, I want to say thank you for having me and doing this, and I'm honored to be the first male representing the males out there.
Hell yeah. You know what, your Black Belt Beauty, it's the intro. It's elevating the mind. When we elevate the mind, we elevate the life.
Yeah.
For me, it's this idea of when we feel good, we look good. These two things working together, the feeling good, the looking good, looking good meaning, we want to, there's a physical component, obviously, right? But the whole point is to, perform our best in life. Mm-hmm. That's what how do we perform our best? Well, we need to continuously be creating our best selves.
Be open-minded. Yeah.
Open-minded, and also, you got to do what it takes. You got to take care of yourself. You got to take care of your mind. Who are the people that you have around. Like we've talked about, you know, what are you watching? Are you watching the news? Are you watching TV? Like, I'm just saying it takes a lot of things, and everybody's idea of their best selves or their best lives is different. And I'm not, you know, obviously it's like to each their own, but I feel like the commonality here is, you know, for all of us who are, like my brother said, fucking chasing excellence.
Yeah.
Whatever, in wherever that is in your life, you know, that's the whole message behind Black Belt Beauty.
There's a common, like that, it's not just for MMA, it's not just for...
No, and it's not just a man or a woman, just a woman.
No way.
It's a perspective, and then a lifestyle, you know, that supports that perspective. So you're a full-on fucking representative.
Oh, yeah.
You know what? Here, let me say this lastly. So, because people sometimes think like, oh, Black Belt Beauty, oh, martial arts, or...
Yeah.
So Black Belt is what? It's the highest standard.
Yeah.
So to perform at our highest level is to live our most beautiful life.
Wow.
Black Belt Beauty.
That's awesome.
Boom! That's where... So now you all know. It ain't just about the lipstick or the fact that I do train jiu-jitsu.
Yeah. Wait. What about, have you heard the, like, story of the belts?
No.
Oh, it's cool.
Drop it.
All right. Well, so how I learned it, I'm sure there's many different, like, ways, but when they started training martial arts, everybody had their kimonos, all white, with a white belt. Mm-hmm. And the more they trained and the harder they worked, you know, there were no mats, there were no academies, it was in the dirt. The belt eventually, and the gi, would get dirtier and dirtier and go from white to greenish because of, say, grass or whatever, or blue or brown from dirt, and eventually gets so dirty that it turns into a white belt. I mean, into a black belt. Yeah. And so that's sort of how, you know, the black belt evolved. Once you put in all that work, it showed. Literally, it showed.
That's cool.
And the even cooler part is that when you look at like a master at the sport, their belts start to deteriorate, and they start to become white again. And so the cycle sort of repeats, you know?
The full circle.
Yeah, so that's really cool. That's
so cool. I just got chills.
Yeah, it's really, really cool to even, like, you'll see it on, now that you know it, you'll see some belts when they're like...
Oh, I already see it.
Yeah, now
like, I can see my brother's belt right now. And
Mike's belt.
Yeah.
Shout out Mike. Mike should be a black belt.
Seriously.
He whoops me. It makes me feel like I'm a white belt.
He whips me in the most loving way. I'm so lucky. But
that ties in with everything. It's like once you've mastered whatever you're doing, or mastered quote unquote, it's like now you got to start over, do something new. Like the cycle, you know, restarts. So.
Yeah, and maybe the point is that we never master as long as we're living. We're constantly evolving. And that's the fun part.
Yeah.
Fuck yeah.
Cool. All right.
You guys, I'm super excited about this episode. Wait, how do they follow you? How do they...
Oh, yeah. So, on pretty much my main social media, the thing I pump out the most is Instagram. And my username for that is Mufasa MMA. Mufasa being, you know, the spirit animal nickname, and then mixed martial arts, MMA. And then on Facebook is just my full name, Jean-Paul Bosnoyan, and everything else.
I'll
but
spell
Instagram,
it all on
in
the show notes.
Instagram's the way to go.
The main.
Yeah.
Yeah, your posts are rad. I love them. They're super inspiring.
You too.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, you guys, make sure you follow him. Thank you so much again. And yeah, have fun watching this badass rise, because that's exactly what he's doing. So lots of love. Peace out.
Peace.
Thanks for taking the time to check out this episode. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, please share it with your friends. Head over to iTunes, subscribe to this podcast, rate it, leave me an honest review. Let's connect. I'm so excited to do that in this space and really create content that elevates your mind in support of your best performance in life. You can find me on Instagram at Black Belt Beauty. I'm active there every single day, and I look forward to connecting with you all. So thanks again, and I'll catch you on the next one.